The BancABC reported their first half-year results today, driven by the growth in retail banking. Group pre-tax profits was up 77% to 169 million Botswana pula. Dumisho Makanyele caught up with Doug Munati, the CEO of BancABC, for more.
I certainly would believe that we produced a great set of results across the board as a group. Clearly, we have challenges in Tanzania, where the business went through a difficult time last year. It's under construction, reconstruction rather, and we are confident that we'll be able to address the challenges that are facing that business. But besides that, overall, BancABC Botswana, Mozambique, Zambia, and Zimbabwe delivered really strong performance. Across the board, attributable profit strong, balance sheet growth more efficient, cost income ratio falling certainly significantly from where it was last year, and overall the health of the group is really strong.
Now let's break down all those factors, because you mentioned Tanzania is still a challenge there. Specifically, what are the areas that you're not quite getting right?
Well, Tanzania last year experienced some very significant impairment problems. Not too many accounts, very few accounts, but very significant numbers. And because of that, the operation experienced some very significant financial challenges, obviously, which would translate into operational challenges, as you can imagine. But we are working hard to collect on those accounts. What we have done is to segregate the bad book and put it into an SPV, which we have made sure will focus some of our management team to collect and to deal with some of the legal challenges. In the meantime, we've put in more capital and put the operation in a position where we think by the end of this year, it should be profitable. And going forward, it will become, like all the other operations, performing really to our expectations.
I want to talk about your cost-income ratio. You said that you have managed to get that down. How much closer are you to getting to that 50% target?
Well, if you look at the graph, 2009-10, we were in the 80s. We struggled with it in the 70s in the last 2 or 3 years, and mostly because we obviously have been front-loading our costs. Branch rollout, recruiting more people. In the service business, most of your costs work on 2 feet. So most of these costs have to do with our expansion into the retail space. Obviously, looking at all the channels, our branches, technology, ATMs, and internet banking and everything that we've really been investing in. But what is happening now, which we have always talked about, is that revenue is now growing faster than our costs. And so end of last year, or this time last year, the cost income ratio was in the 70s, 72 by the end of last year, 65 now, and trending very much towards that 50% mark. If you look at some of the operations, Botswana is actually below 50% now. Zimbabwe and Zambia are in the high 50s. And so we think that, in those 3 operations, we'll achieve target pretty soon. Not only achieve target, but also be within the industry average, comparing very favorably with some of our peers. Mozambique will take a little bit of time because our retail expansion is taking a little bit longer to hit critical mass, and also the level of competition in that market is phenomenal. So that is what is going to cause that cost income ratio to take a little bit of time to trend towards our target.
I know that you want to bed down the current operations that you have, but in a time frame looking at 5 years, 10 years from now, what are the certain geographical areas that you would like to go into? I mean, there has to be some that you may have earmarked at the moment.
Oh, certainly. I think what we the strategy we have now of growth is really something that we think we'll achieve in the next 3 years. Beyond 3 years, we certainly believe that we ought to be in key growth markets in East and Southern Africa, because that remains our defined target geographical market. And so, significant growth markets would be Angola. Growth markets would certainly be Uganda, possibly DRC, if stability is achieved there significantly, and of course, some other parts of East Africa. And once we have achieved a certain geographical coverage, our footprint is strong and formidable, then we can look at other markets. But for now, our definition of our geographical ambitions are really pretty much East and Southern Africa. It's relatively, not homogenous, but certainly easier market for us to understand, and easier markets for us to deploy the resources that we have and optimize on the capital that we have as well.
Going forward, you're going to be managing your liquidity. If you can maybe give us some sort of guidance as to what your next set of results we can expect to look like, because you did say they'd be better,
yes.
But how much better?
Well, there are two things that are obviously critical for us right now. Our business is growing very well, very nicely. We have to just make sure that we manage that growth carefully, and part of that is the challenge of liquidity. And liquidity is a challenge in all the markets. First of all, because of 2008, but increasingly also just because the markets are very competitive and growing. So we need to be very, very adept at managing our liquidity positions in all our operations and at a group level. And then secondly, we need to collect on all the NPLs. I mean, you can imagine, if you look at the numbers that we have provided this year, they're quite significant. We are confident, and in fact, one of the major focus areas for us as management is to collect on all those accounts. It's not going to be easy. Some of them we will collect successfully during the second half of this year, but some of them will probably straddle and go over into the next year. But if we achieve those two critical objectives, we believe that this year will remain a very, very good year for us. And in fact, the years to come will remain also very good.